Here at Faith Baptist Church, we often define faith as our confident hope that's rooted in what we know, shaping what we feel, and motivating what we do. Faith is confident hope. It is rooted in what we know, it moves us into action, but it is shaping constantly our feelings. And so joy and faith are joined, they're connected. The word joy is found only once in our English translations of 1 Peter. Only once does Peter use this common New Testament word in his letter to those chosen people who are living as strangers in the world. But when he and Silas scribed the term on that single occasion, they did it in the biggest way they knew how. They said, "You guys are rejoicing with a joy that is too immense for words to describe." The NIV more accurately puts it like this: "You are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy." So don't miss the contrast that Peter has here, because in these verses, he says, though you have not seen him, you love him, and even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. For you are receiving the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls. That's 1 Peter 1, 8 and 9. So don't miss the contrast between the Jesus who is hidden and the Jesus who is seen. Jesus revealed and Jesus unseen. Our salvation, Peter tells us, is ready to be revealed in the last time. That's verse 5. And perhaps more importantly, our trials of faith are going to produce praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. That's verse 7. In that last day, Jesus will be revealed in glory, bringing the whole shining splendor of his saving grace full circle. But now, Peter says, you trust him without that sight. Your joy is the product of belief and love for the one you cannot see. For disciples of Jesus, Christians in the truest sense, our joy is never based on what we have in our hands. It's never based on what we see with our eyes. At best, at the very best, the happiness of this world is a down payment on what we confidently expect to find when Jesus is visible. In our darkest moments, we recognize that what we see with our eyes and suffer in our body and soul is a fleeting trial, the likes of which Jesus himself endured, and that we too are destined for glory. See, Peter ends his letter with this promise: the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. That's 1 Peter 5:10. No, friends, joy, real joy at least, is not a response to our experiences. It's instead an interpretation of those experiences, a way of seeing and understanding our experience in this world that is in harmony with who Jesus is and what we've been promised in him. Peter's message is clear. You are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy, for you are receiving the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls. That's verse 9. I pray that this thought is an encouragement to you. I pray that you're able to wake with a song in your heart because you know that the Lord is your safety in a perishing world. I pray that you are able to eat and drink with gratitude because your Father is able to clothe the lilies. Your Father is able to feed the sparrows. Your Father knows what you need, and he is happy to grant you all these things, O little flock. I pray that you have joy because though you do not see him, you love Jesus and you trust him with all your heart. But I am well aware that many of us are living with what feels like joyless days. At best, some of us are choosing and chasing happiness, hoping to catch it, if only for a moment. Some of you are fighting so hard just to keep your heads above the waves of sadness and grief, with hopeless exhaustion threatening to pull you into the depths. Some of you are going to be numb, The march has been long and you've been dutiful, but joy, it's been a long time since you felt any spark of joy. Most dangerously, I know that there are some of you who are actually rather content. You're happy and even comfortable, but it's all precariously perched on a teetering tower of circumstance and property. So let me ask you this. What if you were no longer able to carry on your career? What if your loved ones rejected you? What if your reputation, your good name, was wrongfully maligned and smeared? What if God permitted your spine to be wounded so that you lost the use of your arms and your legs? What if a torch, a fire was set to all you possess in this world? Would you be able to say with Job, the Lord gave, the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. Job 1:21. If Christ is our life and our hope, we will have joy, unquenchable, indescribable, glorious joy. So where is your joy? I think there are only two options. Either we have not heard what Jesus has told us, or we do not believe him. On the one hand, it is entirely possible that you have never really listened to God's promises. Maybe you didn't understand his laws and his commands. Maybe you don't meditate on the words of Christ and on the prophets. I want to ask you right now, do you have the humility to be taught and led and corrected by the word? Have you never heard? Maybe that's why you don't have joy. But then again, there is another possibility. And here we venture into extremely dangerous territory. Maybe the problem is not in your head, not a knowledge issue, but in your heart. Maybe what you have is a trust issue. Faith is our confident hope, rooted in what we know, but shaping what we feel and motivating what we do. When Jesus says, store up for yourself treasure in heaven, Matthew 6:20, do you secretly doubt that you would ever really be happy without the safety net of worldly wealth? Remember Christ. He finished the thought by saying this, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. When Jesus says love your enemies, what practical steps do you think he's calling you to? Do you think that toleration or silence constitutes love? Instead of marching against those who oppose us, what if we waged holy warfare by actively loving them and passionately caring for those who threw stones and arrows at us? Wouldn't Matthew 5:44 revolutionize our dialogue with the world, the conversation we have with our enemies, if the witness of the church were that we breathed with one breath a prayer against the evil of this world, and then with the very next breath prayed for the salvation and redemption of those who perpetrated that evil? What if we believed in keeping our word even when it was costly? Matthew 5:37. What if we honored God with our minds and our bodies, cherishing both sexuality and celibacy as gifts to be held in honor and as the holy ordinances established by God's decree, as we find in Matthew 5:28? What if, and just imagine it, what if we believed that God really loved us? And that love was based not on who we are, but who he is, unchanging, eternal. What if we actually and really and truly believed that he accepts us, not because we are good enough or we work hard enough, but because Jesus cannot fail and he is our way to God's good graces? What if we really believed his love never changes, his love never fails, his love never errs, and his love never runs out? What if we really believed that he is working all things for our good because we love him and we have been called according to his purposes. See, I'm not asking if you know these things. I'm not asking if you even know about these things. I'm asking if you actually believe them. Though you have not seen him, you love him. Though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible, glorious joy. For you are receiving the goal of your faith, the salvation of your souls. Regardless of our situation, if we are standing on the promises of Christ, or if we are lost in the shadowlands, the call remains the same. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me." And I realize that for some of us, we are feeling a sense of joy. Regardless of our circumstance, we know the joy of the Lord, and it is our strength. We need to cling to him. And for those of us who feel lost, joyless, for those of us who are in danger of being contented without really knowing the joy of the Lord, the call remains, come. I recommend beginning with the book of Mark. The book of Mark is the enduring legacy of Peter's witness. It was preserved by the Spirit of God through his servant Mark for the generations that would follow. It's a great place to begin understanding, knowing Christ, hearing his voice. I recommend reading the book of Romans. Paul powerfully teaches about our hope in Jesus. I recommend reading the Psalms, those songs of praise from Israel, where they knew the salvation of the Lord, where the psalmist cries out in his distress, finding hope in the one who is his Redeemer. Read the Word, listen to it, and then believe the one who speaks. Let us wait and work, because the advent of Jesus' return, that day when he is revealed, it is near. God bless.